St Mary's is a diverse Church Mills primary school in Butetown in Cardiff. 96% of our pupils come from a global majority background. 75% of our pupils are EAL. We're a Church Mills school where 80% of our pupils are Muslim and over half our children have free school meals. Not long after I joined the school in 2020, we started looking at a concept-based curriculum. We found that was too broad. We didn't have enough to sort of weigh us down and to anchor us into the curriculum. So we spent 2 years working with our cluster, looking at understandings that were being derived out of the curriculum. We met twice a month, digging down into the principles of progression, the descriptions of learning, to look at what that meant for us as a cluster. We looked at things that already worked in the school, inquiries that we already used because we were going down an inquiry-led pathway. And we looked at how we could map those understandings onto our inquiries in a way that was meaningful for our children. So inquiry learning is about our children exploring a big idea, which is concept-based and which is also relevant to their need, their experiences. And with that, then we will base everything around that. So we go through a cycle from tuning in and getting our children to start to consider what they might know about that concept, all the way through investigating, going further through to a performance of understanding. Could be something in writing, it could be going somewhere and taking part in something.
So for Peace Inquiry, we went to different buildings to see what we want to be when we're older. Like we went to a law, we went to the Senate, and we went to the House of Parliament in London. And we've been learning about just because we're little doesn't mean we don't have a voice. Our voice is way more powerful than an average human.
What we did initially was we created these maps. So it's an at-a-glance sheet for each inquiry, and each class has 6 inquiries over the course of a year. What we found then was, again, we were lacking an identity as a school. So we went through and we looked at the understandings and looked at what concepts we felt kept coming back and that were of value to our pupils. So we came up with 6 big ideas as a school. So they were communication, environment, innovation, identity, health, and peace. And we took those and put everything under those 6 umbrellas. So every year, every class covers those 6 big ideas. We created a spiral curriculum out of those understandings, so we knew our children would keep revisiting the same ideas year on year to get that breadth and that depth that we needed from the principles of progression. And that's where we're at now.
We're presented with 6 inquiry maps for year 1. We choose which inquiry we want to start with. We started with identity, and then we look at the performance of understanding, where we want the children to get to. You start off with a tuning in, which could be an immersion day, where you start off getting the children interested, and then you go through the different stages of the cycle. We have our inquiry wall in our classrooms, which are really lovely because they show the complete cycle, and they're up to prompt the children so that the children can remember what they've been doing and where they're getting to. It's quite flexible at the moment. We get to do what we think is appropriate, and then we'll review it at the end of the year.
I think the benefits are that the majority of the work at the beginning is there. You're not just picking out random understandings. You know that you're working towards a purpose and it's driven by those purposes and understandings. And you know that if you follow those understandings, you know that your inquiry cycle will loop back to the beginning. It's more engaging for the learners. They feel like they've got control over what they're striving towards.
We are learning about plastic, so how it's good and bad, and I think it's like good and bad as well, because we need plastic for like bottles, stuff like that, but it's also bad because I've also seen in some parts of the UK rubbish in spots, and I've seen birds so they get stuck in it, and I don't think that's fair.
I always have my inquiry map in front of me, planning to make sure that I bring that back. I do a reflection time with my learners on a Friday afternoon, where we go back and reflect on what they've learned, what their understandings are, linking to the thinking skills as well. I also have a little look at the inquiry maps, and sometimes the steps have to be broken down into short steps for the children. So it's trying to get that balance of the activities.
So the sort of planning and observation cycle, we've looked a lot at the non-maintained nursery curriculum and the assessment procedures. There's like a really good infographic on there that tells us what those steps are and how it links back together. And that could be initially from me thinking where I'm going to want to take the learning, but also being flexible and adapting and being knowledgeable enough in those things like child development and where those understandings might take us.
I think what we've been able to do is to construct a curriculum from a higher level, which has meant that we've been able to ensure that we have that security and progression that has come from the understandings and the cluster work. I think we're really fortunate that we've got such a robust document that we can work with. But what it's allowed us to do as a senior leadership is to look at a higher level at learning progression. We try to make sure that we give plenty of professional learning time to the curriculum, to look at our books, to talk about it, to create those professional conversations so that everybody's involved in looking at that progression across the school.